Welcome. Today we're going to be discussing the technique delayed sword, its physical execution, some of the problems that can arise during its physical execution, and how to compensate or fix for those problems. So let's start out with the ideal phase of this technique, which is off of a right direct lapel grab. This technique can be done off of a bunch of different things. For instance, a push, punches, straight or circular, and that circular would mean roundhouse or hook. So the first thing that we need to consider is our environment. In this case, we have an open environment. So if we look around us, we can tell that we can step back or we can step forward. In this case, we are going to be stepping back. If we had a closed environment, we would be forced to step forward. So in our initial salvo, what we're going to be doing is stepping back, assuming in an open environment. First thing that we need to worry about is how we're doing our step back. There is a problem that can arise called jet lagging. What that would be is if I begin to step and I leave my face where it was and then settle back into my stance, that's what's called jet lagging. I did it really slow so that you can see it. This way to solve for jet lagging is pretend you have a stick down your back that you cannot bend. So when you step back, my back stays up straight and my head moves with my body rather than my head being left in place. The problem with my head being left in place is the potential backup target that he would have for a left punch would be my face. And if I don't move that out of the way, that's the first thing that's going to get hit. So by keeping an erect carriage or back up straight as I settle back, I move my target away from his potential weapon. Okay, so now that we have that taken care of, let's talk about what's happening with the hands up here. The first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be using this right hand. It can go in a variety of different directions. The most common direction that we go when we're stepping back like this is with the right hand going out away at a 45-degree angle. We do not want to do that because typically when we're doing it, we're dealing with punches. This is what's called a dead hand or a grab. In this case, we don't need to beat the action, so we don't have to go out at that 45-degree angle. The problem with doing that is, even though I may make contact below his elbow, it could potentially slide above his elbow, and that breaks the rule of being on the inside of the arm, you want to be at or below the elbow, and being on the outside of the arm, you want to be at or above the elbow. So to solve that problem, what we do is we come back here at a 45 rather than away at a 45. So as we step, we want to draw back at this 45. The next problem that you want to worry about here is how this hand is moving. It wants to come from point of origin up to get this strike, rather than bringing it up like you're going to be doing a hammering block and then stepping back. The problem with that is I'm making the cock a separate motion, and just like jet lagging, I'm leaving my backup weapon or target exposed as I begin to step, and he can punch me. Just like jet lagging, the same idea. But jet lagging is leaving the face in position as I'm stepping back, and raising up my hand is breaking the economy of motion principle, meaning that I'm not coming from point of origin. So now that we've solved those two problems, let's talk about the direction that we're going back here on the 45-degree angle. I could go down, straight back, or up. What we want to do is go up at the 45. So let's talk about what happens when we don't go up at the 45. If we come back and down at the 45, if you've noticed what's happening here, I'm kind of limiting what I can hit on the way back up. I can hit the throat and maybe hit with a back knuckle. But if I go up at a 45, I've got myself a whole range of targets in here that I can hit all the way from the arm all the way up to the head. So if you look at this positioning here, this is what's called an open-ended triangle. An open-ended triangle is good for two reasons. One is I have a variety of weapons in which I can use and a variety of targets in which I can hit. And number two is I don't have to be very precise. I can just hit anywhere in there and I'm going to hit a target. Whereas if I don't do that, I have to be very precise because I can end up missing. Where an open-ended triangle helps for margin for error. So margin for error can be used in a couple different spots here. One at the beginning and one at the end, and later I'll discuss how it's being used throughout the technique. So let's discuss all this one more time and then add our left hand. So we're going to step back, keep our back up straight, no jet lagging. Hand comes up from point of origin, back at a 45 and up. Now this left hand should be picked up into a positional cover. The reason why you want a positional cover here is to cover all this low area. If he's going to try and knee me, I can pick up that, or if he tries to punch low, I can pick it up with my left. My right hand being cocked like this and down, if he begins to use the left at a higher zone, I can always use it and go into a different technique. But in this case, what we want to do is make sure that this left hand is used to cover all the low and mid-range areas. So one more time, we're going to step back, keep the back up straight, pick the left hand up, bring the right hand from point of origin back at a 45 and up at a 45. Okay, now that we've done that, We talked about an open-ended triangle here. Now the next motion we're going to have is an open-ended triangle low. So as we step back, notice what's happening down here. I have an open-ended triangle on the low end. That sets me up for my next motion, which is the kick. The kick, what you don't want to do is to draw your weight back, and do the kick in a pumping fashion, which would be the ideal phase of the basic. The ideal phase of the basic is to do a 4-count kick. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we push back forward. If you notice what's happening with my weight, in order to do that, I need to draw my weight away. There's 2 problems with that. One is, if I pick my foot up and I draw my weight back, I have broken the first thing I did, which was establish a base. So if he begins to push or pull, I have my leg off the ground for too long. The second being, I have to draw my weight away and then bring my weight back into the fray. So to stop that, what I want to do is I want to come from point of origin. But remember, whatever we can do with our feet, we can do with our hands. So in this case, we did not making a cock separate motion here. The same thing we're going to do with our foot here. We don't want to make a separate motion. We want to go from point of origin, just like we did here. So how do we do that? We don't draw our weight away, and you have to do this fairly quick. Get your kick and draw it back down. So notice what happens. My weight gets drawn forward, and that's a good thing because it's going to set up my final strike. And my final strike, what I can do is I can use the forward momentum of my body in order to accentuate the last strike that I'm going to be delivering, which is this chop. So one more time with this kick. Once we're in this position, we've got the hand off. What we want to do is come from point of origin, do the kick, and drop it straight back down. Now, let's talk about what's happening up here, again with our final strike. The thing you don't want to do is unanchor your elbow and come at a horizontal line. Because if you look what's happening here, when I do that, I have, again, lack of margin for error. Just like in the beginning from the grab, I don't want to do my strike like this. I want to do my strike in a vertical fashion, not horizontally, because I want margin for error. The reason why I hit my open-end triangles, margin for error. The same thing here at the end. I don't want to do it this way because there's no margin for error. So the way to compensate for that is to anchor your elbow. Anchoring your elbow means keeping your elbow below the striking surface, in this case the hand. So when I do this, I want to drop and keep my elbow down. That forces me to come down at a 45-degree angle. And the same thing in the beginning, just like we had our elbow anchored here, and it helps defend our upper area. The same thing in the end. We also can protect our upper area, so if he begins to throw something, it covers that, and we keep our check in place, or cover in place, just in case that's a problem. Okay? So let's go through this one more time. I'm going to step back, make sure we come back at a 45. Don't jet lag. Keep our hand in a cover position, come up at the 45. Do not cock your weapon, come from point of origin, and drop back down. Don't draw away, and I want to come forward and use my forward momentum in order to accentuate that chop. So what does that mean? Let's talk about the timing here. If we take the beginning part and the end part, they have both the same timing. What we can do is I can do the strike, and then I can do the step. I can do the step, then I can do the strike, or I can do them both together. Same thing here at the end, too. I can deliver my kick, plant, do my chop. I can do my kick, my chop, and my plant, or I can do them both together. So in this case, both the beginning and the end, you want to do them simultaneously with one another. So if we watch the beginning, step, settle back, point of origin, kick, and drop, and settle at the same time. Okay? Let's do it slightly faster so that you can see it. 1, 2, 3. And then if you want, in the yellow belt, you generally don't cover out, but in this case, if you wanted to, you could cover out. Thank you very much. I hope this video helps you.